What else with this? Well, it's been a while. Not much progress, but this is a little update video. I haven't given up on the truck. Cab's back down where it needs to be at ride height, so I can start measuring for the cage, seeing how much tube I'm going to need, and making the body mounts to finally mount this thing to the actual chassis. The reason I've been kind of putting this off doing this is once I start putting a cage in this thing, I don't have ceiling height to take this cab back off. So as soon as the hoop is in, the cab's kind of stuck here for now, at least for the winter. I thought about maybe building a cantilever out over the two doors so I could roll the cab out, put my chain fall up and just pull the cab off it and roll it back in and do some stuff like that, which is ultimately what's probably going to happen, because what I'll end up doing is tacking the cage in this thing and then putting it back on the rotisserie, pulling the cab off, putting it back on the rotisserie, and welding this thing out. Because I don't know if you put cages in before, but sometimes the position welds are a pain in the ass, and if I have access to my rotisserie and I can do it, I'm going to do it. What else? Oh, I finally picked up another vehicle that can haul my steel, because as you know, the Subaru is not exactly great for, I think the minimum length for my bar, my main hoop, was 12 feet, so I know I can fit 8-foot lengths in the Subaru, no problem. Fold the back seats down, put them up through the two front seats is great. But 12 foot just isn't going to happen. So I picked up something else, and I'll show you what it is. Well, here it is. It's my 71 F100. But what you can't see is it's sitting on a 2004 Police Interceptor Crown Vic. Chassis, engine, transmission, everything. It was built by a buddy of mine in Georgia, and we shot a little video of when we went and picked it up, but I'll have that up later on. Probably like going over the truck, explaining more about it, but yeah. So I looked at prices of new trucks and they were just ridiculous. I wanted something I can just haul shit with, and this thing looks way better than a lot of the new stuff, so that's why I got it. So yeah, so it's four-wheel disc brakes, ABS. It actually has all the Crown Vic interior stuff, so it's got AC heat, cruise control, third row seats out of a Chevy, I think. But yeah, obviously it's got a hump in the bed. Got to do a little sheet metal work in the bed because the Crown Vic fuel tank is in the back. 8.8 4-link with a Watts, and then obviously the Crown Vic front suspension that everybody puts in these trucks with the stock chassis, just to give them independent front suspension. She rides a little rough now because I've been reading, and apparently when you ditch the Crown Vic and you put a truck cab and bed on top, the truck loses almost 1,000 pounds. So next is talking to Viking, because I know Viking makes a kit for the Crown Vic, so I will have to talk to the guy I talked to before with my truck and just give him some weights on this truck, which I don't really know what it is right now. I'm going to try to find out if anyone's ever corner weighted one of these things and see what the overall weight is. But yeah, figure that out, throw the suspension on it, and yeah, that's it. It's a pretty fun little driver. Projects for this, I'm going to probably 5-speed swap it. It's got a 4R70 or 75W Ford transmission. It's kind of noisy, so I'm looking for a TR 3650
I think out of the Mustangs, I think the pickup trucks used it too for a 5-speed, but yeah, that's probably the first thing on the list is swap the 5-speed into it. Well, suspension, then swap the 5-speed and go from there. I've been looking at bolt-on superchargers for this and everything else, so, you know, I'm not trying to make this thing like a fucking land rocket, just a fun truck to drive. Just fun to drive now, but I think with a 5-speed in it and just the maybe 5 or 6 pounds on a supercharger, it'd be a blast to drive around. So, yeah. And then when the truck back in the back ever gets finished, I'll be able to put it on a trailer and tow it with this. Because I guess back in the day, Ford didn't want to talk about how much the Crown Vics could actually tow because they didn't want it to interfere with sales of the F-150. So I think they underrated the Crown Vic, but apparently I've seen on some of the Crown Vic boards and everything else, these guys are towing full enclosed trailers with the Crown Vic. Obviously, probably have a helper bag set up in the back if it's a big heavy trailer or something like that, but this thing should pull the Nissan on a, you know, a nice trailer, open trailer. I probably won't have an enclosed trailer. It'll pull it just fine. But yeah, this is the new. Oh, and the beep beep over there, that's the girlfriend's a Barth Fiat. That thing's a fucking blast to drive, but that's hers. She plays with that. But yeah, this is it. You can look him up on Instagram, Killing Time Garage. He doesn't really build these trucks for people. He basically builds them, drives them for a month or two, and then sells them. So if you're interested in one, I'll try to put a link somewhere to link to his Instagram or something like that. He's actually building a O.J. Simpson style Ford Bronco on a Crown Vic chassis, and it's gonna have some wild ass LS twin turbo independent rear suspension out of a Lincoln Mark 7 and all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you like building weird crazy shit just like I do, give him a look up on Instagram, Killin' Time Garage. I think it's KILL the letter N time _ garage. But like I said, I'll throw a link to it. Hopefully I think I can figure that out, and you guys should go check him out.
If you notice the front wheels up on a 2x4, 2x6, if you didn't watch, it might have been on one of the other episodes, is this floor in here isn't exactly level. So I shot the laser across the center of the back wheel, and it took one 2x6 to lift the front tire up to get it centered with the rear wheel on the same plane. So that's why there's a 2x4, 2x6 under the front wheel. Other than that, yeah, it's just a matter of getting the steel and starting to bend this thing up. It's going to be a pain in the winter because you can't really open the doors and do all that fun stuff. And with the MG that's in here now, it's kind of taking up the space, but I'm pretty sure I can roll some stuff around and make some room for that. So yeah, hopefully the next thing will be getting the steel, getting the tube for this, and finishing some of the fuel stuff. I can still make mounts for the hard lines in the back and do all that. And then yeah, taking the engine in and out of this thing is kind of being a pain now because it sits so far back under the firewall. The cowl has to be notched for it to fit where it sits right now because the engine got raised up with this whole front subframe shenanigans that I decided to do. No big deal. But to get the engine in, I have to pretty much bring it in, put it on a dolly back here, and then let the engine lift off it, re-pick it in the very front, and then pick it up and roll it back on the dolly. So what I might do is just make something where I can grab the cab, unbolt it, and lift it up. Maybe a foot would give me enough room to roll the whole thing in here and put it in. But the way the tranny cross member and the front cross member are made. This will ultimately be one of those deals like a factory car where you can just unbolt the subframe, unbolt the tranny mount, and lift the chassis up, and the engine will come out the bottom. So that's another option, but that's not set in stone yet because the front cross member is not bolted in. I still have 2 F clamps holding it in place. I haven't gotten around to marking the holes and figuring all that stuff out, but what I wanted to do is get the cage in it and tie the front frame horns in, because right now it's kind of a little flimsy with, just some 2x2 box steel just sticking, 3-4 feet off the front of the frame with nothing to support it. So once it gets the tie-ins from the dash bar, the A-pillar bar and all that stuff, it should be good to go. And then I can start boxing in parts of the firewall and get this thing kind of looking like a truck again. So yeah, that's all for this one, I guess.